Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma Hari Ananta Harikatha Ananta. Ladies and gentlemen, viewers, we are once again back with a video in English. As we all know that we have been blessed by the great His Holiness Maharaj Shri Ram Kinkar Upadhyay ji and Her Holiness Didima Mandakini ji, directly from Ayodhya Ram Janma Bhumi and from the Ram Kinkar ji ashram. The blessings conveyed to us enable us to understand the planetary positions from a totally different angle, aspect and perspective. So in this series what we try to gather is we try to understand how our life, how human life is to be conducted, how we don't comply with the rules and regulations of human life, and the meanings, the significances, the messages, the lessons which the planets convey to us, which the celestial realm, the celestial bodies convey to us, but to a large extent we are unable to grasp those messages because we are only inclined towards a very wrong, very erroneous shortcut method of just trying to understand what is going to happen tomorrow, day after and in the future, without making any necessary changes in our lives, so that constantly that same cycle is continuing, the same mistakes are being repeated, and we are forever grudging and complaining that our lives are not manifesting the way we would like our lives to manifest, the way we would like our lives to happen, the way things should turn out in our lives is not according to our wishes and our desires. But for things to happen according to our desires, we have to put in a certain input and a corrective input. When there is a retrograde season, multiple planets are retrograde, and there are certain years in which all planets go retrograde, like in 2020. In 2023 also we have all the planets going retrograde, except of course Sun and Moon, which don't retrograde at all. So whenever there is a retrograde season, it is time to sit back, stop our external, outer endeavors, considerations, and turn around, take a U-turn and look at ourselves. Examine ourselves. It's a time of self-examination, review and correction. So all the planets, when they go retrograde, they actually come near the earth, their influence increases on the terrestrial realm, and that increase in their influence is also at a very internal level, so that we can look at ourselves, look at the necessary changes which are required. The outer physical material results that we are seeking from each planet, the material results which are sought and which are not according to our desired levels, have to be corrected during this retrograde phase. So we actually land up doing the wrong things. The time and season, we know there is something called a season. So during summer season it's going to be hot. During rainy season it's going to rain. During winter, it's going to be cold. So, according to the season, we have our weather, we have our food, we have our clothing, we have our way of life. So, whenever it's a retrograde season, it is time to stop, sit back, think, reflect, and review. And this Mercury and Saturn retrograde facing each other at 180 degrees opposition in the sign of Leo and in the sign of Aquarius, which is the 5th and the 11th of the zodiac, is very, very meaningful and significant. Because the 5th is the house of the Prarabdha, of the Purva Punya, of all the good deeds which we have done, of our bank balance, of all our fuel. And that Purva Punya, that 5th house, can also be full of evil influences if we have done bad deeds. We have 5th house afflicted by malefic planets, then it will indicate negative results. And 11th is the house of gains. So whatever is our capital, whatever is our resource from our past lives, our Purva Punya, that is going to manifest as our gains in this life. So this 5th and 11th axis of Mercury and Saturn retrograde is very, very critical. From 23rd August to 14th September, Mercury is going to be retrograde. Saturn is already retrograde. And this Mercury-Saturn combination is very critical. Because Saturn is the planet of protocol. So far we have been calling Saturn the taskmaster, the teacher, the auditor general, and very rightly so. But today we are going to have this discussion with this perspective of protocol. That protocol, as we all know, we have become familiar with the word due to the COVID 2020 onwards, the time that we have suffered. So protocol is a set of rules and regulations, a type of behavior which is required for certain conditions and situations. So when COVID was in full flame, what was the COVID protocol? That you had to sanitize your hands every few minutes, very often. You had to wear a mask. You had to maintain a social distance between people. So certain actions and certain behavior was necessary to avoid COVID attacks and COVID infections. So in our lives, we have to have certain rules, regulations, certain behaviors, perseverance, patience, discipline. These are the behavioral requirements. These are the behavioral components of Saturn's protocol. Tyag, sacrifice, austerity. These are the rules and regulations. No wastage. Being prudent. Being wise. Being just, lawful, abiding by law. These are the rules and regulations of Saturn. So Saturn sets for us the protocols of life. And these protocols of our lives are communicated by the planet of communication, Mercury, who is also the messenger of the gods. So when Mercury and Saturn are both retrograde facing each other, the dialogue which ensues from their 180 degrees placement, this dialogue actually gives us certain very important clues, very important suggestions and advices for our life path. Now the problem with us is that we are constantly focused and centered on the results of our planetary positions, results of the planetary transits, results of planetary retrogrades. We are always asking for what will happen to my zodiac sign. The biggest problem is not this question. The biggest problem is that along with this seeking, along with this query and quest, we also need to apply ourselves so that we can improve the results of our planetary results and planetary transits and planetary motional changes. It's like a student who if a student does not give due importance to his results, he has 7, 8, 9, 10 subjects. So let us say the first report card that he receives, the first term of his exams, which is the Rashifal, which we are always looking for, the zodiac sign results. So in that test report, he gets good marks in certain subjects and poor marks in certain other subjects. So what is necessary? What does he have to do? What do the marks indicate? What do the marks ask of him? That for the next exam, for the next term, he has to maintain the good marks that he has obtained in certain subjects, and the poor low marks which he has got in the subjects, that he has to improve, he has to work on it. So the horoscope which we all have, in our horoscope, the difficult planets, the weak planets, the malefic planets, the malefic yogas, we have to identify. Our astrologers will identify it for us, and we have to work on those planets. We have to work on the meaning, the significances of those planets, on the areas of the lives which those planets indicate. We have to understand that counseling the astrologer is going to give us. But if we don't take necessary action, and yet we expect that in the next term, during the next planetary transit, next planetary motion change, results will be radically different, then that's stupidity. And that stupidity, that Muhuramati, which Shankaracharya has been harping on so often, that Muhuramati is the root of all trouble, is our problem. That is our vikar. That is the distorted aberration of the mind, the illusion of the mind, the Brahm, the Rahu Ketu of the mind. So, besides the daily guidance that I give you for every month, which actually covers 365 days of the year, besides that, on a regular basis, I keep discussing these vital issues, these components of astrology, where we have to take a reflective standpoint. We have to start analyzing ourselves, correcting ourselves, so that our next zodiac sign results, our next Rashifal can improve. We can get better results. And this Mercury and Saturn combination is so very important, because this Saturn is the planet of our protocol, and we have to learn how to conduct our lives, what are the rules and regulations we must know, and what is the necessary behavior we must know, without which we are going to be fined, penalized at every stage, every moment of our lives, like we are fined and penalized on the road when we do not follow the traffic rules and regulations, and when our behavior is not as per the traffic requirements. It's as simple as that. So, we are going to take recourse to the story of the Samudra Manthan in our Puranas. So in the Samudra Manthan, as we all know, what happened was that the Devatas and the Asuras, they wanted to churn the ocean of milk to get the nectar. So to get the nectar from the ocean of milk, they got hold of the Mandarachal mountain, they got hold of the Vasuki Naga, the Vasuki serpent, and they coiled the Vasuki Naga, Vasuki serpent around the Mandarachal Parvat, and the Devatas on the one side and the Asuras on the one side were pulling the Vasuki Naga. So the Mandarachal Parvat was going round and round, it was getting twisted. So it was it was working like a churning stick. The ocean was getting churned, and due to that churning, the Amrit, the nectar, was expected to surface from the ocean. While doing this, the Mandarachal mountain Parvat began to sink, and Bhagavan Sri Vishnu had to incarnate as the Kurma avatar, as the tortoise avatar, and as the tortoise avatar, he came and took the Mandarachal Parvat mountain on his back and gave stability to the Mandarachal Parvat and stopped it from sinking. And the first product of that churning was halal, which is poison, and the last product was amrit, which is nectar. In between, a couple of other products also emerged from the ocean of milk. Now, this metaphorical story is very, very important. This story, among many other stories all across our scriptures, we have allegorical, metaphorical stories which actually carry life lessons for us, giving us the protocols. And if we follow those protocols, then our life becomes easier, the difficulties are removed, and we can look forward to happier and more opulent times. Now, this Amrit, this nectar, is the peace, the money, the satisfaction, the success, the prestige, the name, the honor, the education, the children, the family. Everything that a human being can possibly aspire for is represented by Amrit, by nectar. This Amrit is actually a metaphor of any desire which a human being has, any goal, any target, any desire which a human being sets for himself. So, and for obtaining this Amrit, here is a very important point, that nectar, that Amrit, is available in the ocean. It is present in the ocean, but it has to be obtained. It is not floating, it has not manifested, it is hidden. The ocean has to be churned to bring out the Amrit. So whatever is our desire, our Amrit, happiness, money, family, marriage, children, job, education, whatever is our Amrit, we have to churn, we have to put in an effort, our prayatna, our will, our action has to go into obtaining that Amrit. And this effort is what we call Purusharth or Purushakar. And this movement, this Purusharth, this Purushakar, the Devatas and the Asuras were moving the Vasuki Nag. And the Vasuki Nag was coiled around the Mandarachal Parvat. So the Mandarachal Parvat, a mountain, is a static, inert object. So the scriptures are comparing the mountain with our intelligence, our intellect. That Given no desire, if there is no desire in the mind, if there is no desire which is active, which is burning in our mind, then our intellect, our thinking mind is inert, silent, sleeping. It is only when a desire arises, when a question arises, when a query, a quest arises, that the intellect is set moving, is set into motion. Otherwise, the intellect is quiet. So the question, the seeking of the seeker is the Vasuki Nag, and the Mandarachal Parvat is the intellect. So when there is a seeking, that query enlivens our intellect and sets it into motion. So Vasuki Nag, Mandarachal Parvat, the ocean, the Amrit, they are all metaphors. But whatever is our seeking, whatever is our vichar, our intellect, our questions, our queries, our efforts, everything can go for a toss, and definitely goes for a toss. We have innumerable, infinite precedents to that effect. Everything will go for a toss unless there is a very, very strong fundamental connection to a stable platform. And that stable platform is the Kurma avatar, Vishnu avatar. That is the divine grace. So the lesson here is, the take home point here is that no matter what we do, what our question, what our seeking, whatever our intellect, however powerful our efforts and endeavors, we must be connected to the higher divine consciousness. Our shelter, our recourse, our anchorage must be with the divine higher consciousness, so that whenever there is any crisis, any danger, any moment of disaster, then that higher divine consciousness, that Vishnu Kurma avatar, can keep us afloat, keep us buoyant, and keep our activities, our questionings, our quests, our life cycle, our life movements ongoing, so that we do not sink. So that is a basic, very, very important lesson which we have to first of all understand, accept, and mobilize in our lives. Kal, Prayatna, Daivam. There is a time factor, time quality in our lives, which obviously we see from Jyotish. The dashas, the planets, what do they indicate? The quality of time. Prayatna is our effort, our purushakar. And Daivam is that divine grace, is that Shakti, is that power which has created the universe, which is running the universe, and which at regular intervals also destroys the universe for a new creation once again. Next video we are going to discuss this great metaphorical story of Samudra Manthan and get to know the protocols which are so very, very important for us, without which our lives end up in a total massacre and we are unable to find any proper sustainable solutions, and misery continues to follow us like a shadow. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma Hari Ananta Hari Kripa Ananta.